I'm just gonna get it started. So this is all super unhinged, totally unfiltered, unplanned. Like I didn't even prepare any questions. But we have Bree with
Perfect.
us today at 9:30
Hi.
her time. So thanks for having us and flying our freak flags together. It's a tongue twister.
It's a tongue twister. Yeah, let that freak flag fly.
Fly. It's like fry. Damn it.
I know.
Oh man. Ah, what is, if you had to sum up your world in one word right now, what would you say that word is?
Oh, oh.
Is
Um,
it oh?
yeah, shift. Major shift.
Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah,
shift.
shift.
What is shifting?
My job is shifting a lot, but also like my I feel like I'm on my 10th spiritual awakening of sorts. Like there's just been some things happening. Like Uranus moving into Gemini, like really hit me
I was
really
just looking at that.
unexpectedly.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh,
Yeah, it really hit me unexpectedly, and that same energy is sort of happening at work too.
ooh.
And yeah, shift and also like, in the shift you like meet the version of yourself that you're trying to get
Mm,
away from or trying to change. It keeps
mm,
coming back, but then you keep seeing like the version you want to become or the version you feel yourself becoming. So, yeah, that
mm.
would be the word I would say. What word would you say? Because that's a
I love
big
it. Don't
question.
turn this back on me. I want to keep
But I'm
going with
curious
what
to
you're saying.
know.
I will get to it. I will get to it.
Okay.
Oh, but the one that really stood out to me is, well, first of all, yeah, when I, like looked at your chart 5 minutes ago, like clearly, guys, we did not plan this well. I was like, holy shit! Like, I think you're probably the only person I know who Uranus and Gemini is like getting so close, like it's there, it's already within orb. So it's like you're the first person I know who is being kind of like directly impacted by this. So I was actually curious, like, oh, I wonder how Bree's feeling it. And it's like, yeah, okay, great. But what
Yeah.
really stood out to me from what you're saying is you're trying to meet the version of yourself that you're also trying to get away from. So that's like, ooh, okay, spicy. Like,
Yeah.
what is that thing that you're trying to get away from?
Yeah, great question. There's like it's like the blessing and the curse of becoming self-aware, where
Mm,
you become so aware of like the patterns and the resistance and the fear.
mm,
And so you're wanting to like work with it and transform it so that you can like
yeah.
be the version of yourself that has less of that or feels more free to like
Mm,
do what it wants to do. But then
yeah.
that resistance is just so in my body still. And like
Mm,
I like a good example is like I want to
mhm,
create more, I want to write more. But then during the day I'm like, okay, tonight I'm so excited to write, blah 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 blah. And then the night comes and then I'm
mm,
like, no, I'm just gonna watch TV. Like so like just
mm.
continuously being met with the old version like really is like holding me back.
Oh,
So it's really that the image.
wow. That is so powerful. I'm sending so much
Yeah,
love. If
thank you.
like so much love. Yeah, I
But
feel
then
that, I
it's a
think.
blessing, right?
Mhm.
Because every time that resistance comes up or the fear comes up, like ultimately it's showing me like where I still have that
Mm,
stickiness. So it's hard to feel that in the moment, but the it
mm.
is a blessing in a lot of ways too.
It's gorgeous. It's kind of like it's exactly what you said. It's the self-awareness, the blessing of self-awareness. Because if you were unconscious in the past, like if you were coming home and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna watch TV and you were unconscious, then it's like whatever, right? But now you
Yeah,
are conscious, so you're like, oh, there's this thing I want to do, but I'm still falling back into the old habits, basically.
exactly.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I pulled. So I'm getting into a tarot practice, and I today two jumped out at me. One of it was like the Three of Wands reversed, and then one of it was the Six of Swords reversed. And the interpretation that I got was I need to sit with the integration. I need to sit with the liminal space.
Mm.
Like I just got my ADHD diagnosis. So that's probably my answer. ADHD, like just a word. But like the bigger picture would be identity. And as I'm moving through what this new identity means for me, integrating the old stories that I have held about myself and then matching it with this new piece of information. Oh, it's ADHD. Oh, it's ADHD. And it's like the process of that like piecing together of old stories and forming either new meaning or letting it empower me instead of shame me as it was in the past, like that whole process, like I think there is a part of me that's also trying to skip ahead, and it's like, oh, now I know it, right? Like I've spent the whole weekend talking to people and crying, like, let's move forward, and the cards are reminding me, no, like sit with it, right? Like
Yeah.
like so it's, I really resonate with what you're sharing, because it's like, as we're trying to move forward, and we are trying to move forward, I think, you know, with all the outer planet shifts, how it's showing up for us individually is like we already see the way forward, but we are still human. Like we are still weighed down by all our old baggage, all our old stories. And like you said, it's like a conscious choice every day. Like, can I choose the new story? But I guess in my case at least, while still honoring the old, right? Like I can't just
Yeah.
discard it. I can't just like bye, like, and yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. That's something that's been coming up for me a lot. And I love that you use the word shame in there because I feel like it's really easy to be like, I'm trying to overcome, this stuff, or I'm trying to fight it, or I'm trying to,
Mm,
get rid of it. And it just like I've had this realization a few different times, but it's like we can't strip away these parts of ourselves. Like we can only like meet them and work with them and like nurture them
mm,
or choose to nurture them instead of shame them
yeah.
into transforming. Like they're
Oh,
along for the ride, but it's really easy to just want to like separate ourselves from them and get rid of them. But it's like, no, they just need us to respond a bit differently to them because that's how they change with us. So, no, I love what you brought in there. And it's so true
mm,
that when the outer planets are moving, it's like collectively we're seeing so much happening, but the shift to the personal, basically like the transpersonal and the personal are just happening at like such different scales, but they're happening concurrently. So it's like,
mm,
yeah, I see
mm,
what you mean about like the
mm.
personal still needing some time to catch up almost.
Yeah, and with that amount of change, like
Yeah.
for for those who haven't been initiated, like there has been so much outer planet change. I think all of them changed this year, which is like
Yeah.
crazy, right? It's like it's not just one, it's not just two, it's like all. So it's, yeah, I think, I don't know how it is in your world, but in my world, there is a lot of change happening on people's individual lives. But I think it's so telling, the attitude or the way that they are responding to that change, right?
Hmm.
Um, this was not the intention for the conversation, but I feel like it's naturally going there. It's very much almost an exploration of ownership. I feel like getting this diagnosis, for example, it really feels like I am now owning this identity. I am owning this part of me, which ties so beautifully to what you're saying about you can't shame something into transforming, right? It starts with like nurturing first. It starts with loving it and seeing it and meeting it first. But I feel like the step even before that is to even own it, to even like to acknowledge it, to say like
Yeah.
this is mine so that I can take it and work with it, right?
Hmm.
What has your, I don't know, like journey been with this ownership piece, right? Because to even get to the unshaming and the loving parts of yourself, and maybe we can start flowing this into, your chart specifically, because that's what we're here to talk about, right? Like,
Yeah.
have there been parts of your chart or your life where you feel like, man, like that was so hard for me to own, and maybe you're still struggling with owning it. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna like I have an immediate answer, and basically when you asked me
Mm.
to do this interview, I like often see my chart appear in my mind's eye, like in my
Mm.
day-to-day life. I'm like, oh yeah, like that's my Neptune being activated or whatever. But I immediately saw my Chiron Saturn opposition, and I was like, that's it, like that's the thing, and it's like really strong. It's like in my IC. It's like just after my IC and
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
right
Mm.
after my midheaven. But it's
Mm.
that is such a strong placement in my chart, and like that's
Mm.
been the biggest journey, I guess. Like
Mm,
I could put the word wound on there. I could put the word,
mm,
learning on there, but it's been a journey because yeah, there's just been so much to it. Um, well, it just kind of makes sense. Like when you think about Chiron, it is the deepest wound, right? And for me, it's right before a lot of my
yeah.
personal planets as
Yeah.
well, and like my sun, my moon,
Mm,
conjunct in Virgo. And so that the Chiron placement there, like at my root
mm.
system, basically, it's like
Wow.
I've had to grapple with my deepest sense of self, right? Like when your wound is like out in the world, like in the upper parts of your chart, I feel like
Mm.
other people activate it within you, but I feel like my wound is constantly activated by my own self or
Wow.
like my closer relationships. So
Mm.
that's been a huge one,
Mm.
especially at like the kind of transition point of Leo to Virgo, because I'm
Mm.
I also have a lot in my fifth house and I'm
Mm-hmm.
very expressive. Like, Gwen,
Mm.
we met online, right? Like you have probably seen my expression here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm very creative. I'm very expressive. I have a lot of creativity to offer the world, but
Mm.
time and time again, my Chiron stops me, like either right before I want to do
Mm.
something, or like in the middle of doing something, or like right after I do something. And so it's really
Fascinating.
activated in that way. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because,
Yes.
well, in I guess both whole sign and Placidus, it shares a house. So it's basically roommates with your moon and your sun, right? So it's like they are sharing space together. It makes sense the way you describe it, that it's hard to get away from that energy. Like it's a lot more present than it would be for the average person. So for those
Hmm.
who are listening and like wanting to understand more, like Chiron is an asteroid, right? That is commonly known as the wounded healer. It's not a planet, but all of us have one in our charts. And like Bree says, it kind of denotes our deepest wound in some way. And for Brie, at like 1 degree of Virgo, right? It's like, I don't know, would you describe it as a wound of perfectionism? Almost,
Yeah, it's
yeah?
very
Okay.
related to perfectionism. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And a
Yeah.
lot of overthinking too. Like becoming
Mm.
conscious of the creative process, and yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Overthinking and becoming conscious of the creative process. Yeah. Our charts are similar in that way. I also have a Chiron Saturn opposition. I'm not sure if the degrees are as close as yours, but I also have a fifth house stellium. And but because mine isn't necessarily in the same house as, like these very core personal planets, like my sun and my moon. So I don't feel that presence as much. So this just goes to show like how for every chart it's so different. And I like how you said it's so close to the IC. So the IC is the nadir, right? It's the most bottomest part of our chart, but it's also the most sensitive in a way. So it's like a wound on the most sensitive part of the chart. So it's like I do see that kind of like bleeding heart aspect of you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm just feeling into that right now because it's hard, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's already hard enough to be an artist, and even more so, like there's this like almost like desperate like need to create. But I also see that fourth house stellium, right? And it's like, this I mean the stellium with the Chiron, I guess, if you can consider him. And it's like both these energies coexisting together, like what is that even like? It sounds as though to me it's like a constant struggle between, like you said, just wanting to sit at home, watch TV, and just be comfortable and just be private. Just be private. Like, just keep things to yourself. Like, why do you need to share it with the world? And then with Mercury and, oh my God, Jupiter, Mars, like, so much energy is in that fifth house of like, I want to put things out there. I want to do
Yeah.
something with all this creative energy. And with Libra there as well. It's like, I want to create beauty, right? I don't just want to create, I want to create beauty in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that? I guess if you could share an experience, like what is that like of these two conflicting energies?
Yeah. Well, so what Gwen just said, my Mars, my Mercury, and my Jupiter are
Mm,
conjunct in the fifth house in Libra.
mm,
And what's interesting is that I often overthink my creativity and my wisdom
Mm.
And so like oftentimes like when I get ready to like wanting to make a video for Instagram or like write on Substack, like basically just I have an idea and I'm so excited about it. I want to create it. And then I overthink it and I'm like, what will people think? Like,
Mm.
how will, like, will I get this right? Like, basically, all the kind of negative voices come out. And then the inverse also happens where I'll have a conversation with someone and my deepest wisdom comes out and my creativity just blossoms. And that Libra relationality really comes to save the day
Mm.
for me a lot, where I have that
Mm.
wound activated, but then the second I share space with someone, I stop overthinking. I love holding
Oh.
space with people and like, hearing what they're saying and reflecting back at them and my creativity, my ingenuity like turns on in relationship. And so that's been a
Mm.
big saving grace for me in my chart.
I love how you are using what you know about yourself to be true to work with, like, in a way, like those limitations, right? So you know that it is hard for you to go into, like, it's easy for you to fall into overthinking. So you, I guess, work with that, or you compensate for that by knowing that, okay, Libra energy is so much of a mirror, it's about the other. So I'm going to put myself in situations where there is that relationality, and then I can use that to kind of unlock the creativity and let it flow. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
incredible. Wow.
Yeah, and I also feel like one thing that I'll also mention about Chiron is that like the glyph itself looks like
Mm,
a key, right? And
yeah.
so it's the whole thing about Chiron is that he's a wounded healer, but his wounds and the
Mm,
experiences that he has upon getting these wounds and trying to heal it is actually the healing and it's what helps him be free.
mm,
And that's, really hard to to embody when you're in the wounded state. But then in
mm,
hindsight, you're like, oh, I understand why that wound got activated or why I have that wound or what it's giving me, how it's freeing me. And
mm,
that's really the journey that I'm still on because I
mm,
feel like slowly but surely I've learned to not shame myself and to not guilt myself anymore, but
mm,
I still let the resistance win a lot of the time. So my relationship with my wound has definitely, transformed and shifted. I'm in my shift era, but
yeah.
it's still really prevalent. And I think it'll probably be prevalent for the rest of my life because that's also, Chiron
Mm,
isn't meant to leave, right? Like it's meant to be there and just sort of act as a reminder of like,
mm,
yeah,
mm,
your transformation and your journey, I guess.
yeah. I I find it really fascinating that, because, like, when I look at your chart, there's a very clear T square, and I don't want to get into the terminology so much, between, Saturn, which is very prevalent, right? But also Pluto and Venus. And Venus is actually the ruler of your fifth house, right? So it's like, I'm curious that Chiron's presence is so loud for you that you wouldn't even, like you didn't ascribe this to the opposition between Saturn and Venus, the ruler of your fifth house, but rather Chiron. Maybe this is getting a little bit too technical, but it's like, I'm curious, like, how did you differentiate between the two, right? Like, because to me, as an astrologer, just like looking at your chart for the first time, that is what stands out to me. But it's like, oh, and yet
Mm.
you're talking about Chiron instead. Um, yeah, so I'm curious, like,
Yeah.
what is that difference of felt experience for you?
Yeah, I find that my Chiron Saturn opposition has just been really on the nose. I feel like
Mm,
I feel like because I have so much this is the first time I'm having this thought by the way, so thank you
mm,
for this. But
mm,
basically I have so much energy in the fifth house
yeah.
that Venus being in Leo
Mm,
feels really natural to me.
mm, mm,
And so when Saturn opposes Venus, it maybe
mm.
feels less activating and more illuminating because like
Oh.
so that's a really interesting realization, so thank you for that. But
Mm,
because like I kind of forget actually that Venus is opposing my Saturn because it
Hmm.
that isn't a relationship that I think about that often, but
Yeah.
Chiron opposing my Saturn, oh my God. Because then there's like so much with Saturn
Oh.
and Aquarius that we haven't even talked about yet. But
Mm-hmm.
the two are very related. But yeah, thanks for yeah, shining a light on my Venus too, because if
Mm,
we think about it, like
mm,
my Venus gets activated, I'm like so excited.
mm, mm.
I'm turn on with excitement all the time. Like I go for a walk and I'm like, that flower is so beautiful. Let me
I
write
totally feel
about
you.
it. And then my Chiron was like, oh, but let's overthink this, or maybe we should,
Oh,
shut this down and
that
like
makes
hide a little.
sense.
And then, I really feel like
Mm.
my Venus, my Chiron, my Sun, my Moon, and then my Mercury, Mars, and
So
Jupiter
the
are all telling such a clear story. It's like, holy shit, I'm my
mm.
chart.
Yeah, I get it now. And this is probably the first time I'm hearing it this way as well, where because it's kind of like you said in a sequence, right? So it's
Yeah.
like I almost have this feeling like um if you go sequentially, like Venus is like typical Leo, right? It's the first, like it's the person in the front, like welcoming people into the space. You're like, look at that flower, look at this butterfly, like the world is beautiful, yay! And then Chiron right next to it is like the toll booth, right? So it's like you get past
Or the
that.
troll
Yeah, it's all
under the
the troll on the
bridge.
bridge. Yes. And then it's like, oh, before you get to the rest of them, like you gotta go through me. So I get that now. Like that's such a profound description, right? Because it's like input comes in, beauty, and the first instinct is always excitement because Leo is
Mhm.
that childlike instinct, right? So you're like, yay, flower, beautiful. And then immediately it's Chiron. So it's like, oh, that's no, oh, that's really fascinating. So that's why you
Yeah.
feel that so much more strongly. Also, probably because they're together. So they're kind of like neighbors or like besties or whatever. So they're just like
Yeah.
hanging out, and it's like, it's hard, right? To sometimes
Yeah.
separate them. So it's like you can't really feel beauty without bleeding as
Hmm.
well. Would you
Yeah.
say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I'll like almost want to cry because things are so
Mm,
beautiful, right? And so that's
oh,
like so
mm,
so Venus Chiron
mm,
conjunct. Yeah.
mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So that's yeah, I really like seeing
mm,
the chart in that way where it's like it's
mm,
a story, right? Like they're not just
mm,
separate placements, like they're in
yeah.
that order for a reason.
Mm,
It's like when you look at the signs, like the signs
yeah.
are all in that order for a reason because they like like add on and include the one that came before it. And so it's all just like telling this really beautiful
Mm,
evolutionary, I guess, progress.
mm. I would love to know, right? Like, because I always like these interviews or stories to be hopeful or actionable in some way, right? As someone with all this lived experience of your chart, and you are also an astrologer, right? So you know how to work with it. What is something that you have done that you find to be helpful in, like overcoming this like Chiron opposition and like, unlocking the beauty of your creativity, right? Because you did take a little bit of a break, right? And then you came back, and then now you're starting to share again. Whatever that you do feel comfortable sharing right now, right? But it's like, what was that process like? Like, do you feel breaks are useful in this case, for, yeah, like replenishing, right? That verve of creating, right? Because of that block, or I'm
Hmm.
curious. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a whole ass journey, that's for sure. I'll probably say the word
Mm.
journey like 10 more times, but um when I first started creating online, I was so excited
Mm.
about it. I felt very naive. I was like, "Oh yeah, I can like in my mind I'm like I'm just going to create freely. I have all this like inspiration. I know what I want to talk about." But then when it comes to it, I get so fogged up and I get, the fear
Mm.
just kind of like comes in and really confuses me. And over the years, I feel like a lot like yeah, just doing it over and
Mm.
over again because
Yeah.
even though that fear is so strong, my desire to create is always stronger. And so that's why whenever I retreat and hide and take those breaks, I
Mm.
always give myself the space to miss it enough to try again. And then I'm like, okay, I'm never gonna, I've had moments where I'm like, I'm never gonna create again. I'm never gonna do this again. I'm done. And then like a few
Oh.
days will pass and I'm like, no, but I have to. And so I feel like every time I kind of take a step back or retreat, I get to just see it a bit clearly again. And so
Mm.
every time I create, every time I decide to come back, it's just another kind of step forward, I guess. Like I'm
Mm.
etching a little forward on the
Yeah.
path. So
Wow.
I would say, yeah, if people listening have been really struggling with creating and like overcoming, the resistance, especially for putting yourself out there online, because it's not easy.
Mm. Mm.
Like if the desire is stronger than the fear, like keep trying and keep allowing yourself the grace to take breaks as well, because I
Mm.
always find that my creativity blooms when I take a step back. So it's like if we keep
Mm.
pushing forward as
Mm.
well and like trying to overcome the resistance, it's just gonna kind of the wall is gonna get taller almost. And if you take a step back, you're like, oh, the wall's actually not that tall. And then you get excited about creating again.
Right.
So
Yeah, because like when you're so close, it's like it feels right. But then when you actually step back, it's like, oh, it's actually not that tall.
yeah, like, oh, I
Yeah.
could jump that
I
actually.
could, yeah. Or like
Yeah.
as you step back, it probably dissolves, right? Or like yeah, it actually
Yeah.
like the resistance is usually within. And honestly, I don't know, for me, I just keep getting drawn to that opposition, right? Because that's what it feels like to me, especially with Venus, like that source of your creativity, right? It's like the block that you feel, that resistance, like it dissolves when you let yourself take breaks, which is such a
Hmm.
Saturnian concept, right? It's like, like giving yourself that space to like stop, right? Which is so like, Saturnian, like, okay, like you've hit your limit, like let's give it some space and then it flows again, right?
Yeah.
It's yeah.
And because Saturn feels
Mm,
really heavy, right? It's like
yeah.
heavy, it's gravity.
Mm,
And for me, that wall, it sometimes feels like I'm like really pushing against it and
mm,
it's really
mm,
hard.
mm-hmm.
But then when you take a step back, you like soften and relax, and like that feels really Venusian, to just
Yeah,
be like,
exactly.
oh, okay, I can breathe again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
like a
my whole
dance. Mm.
100%, yeah. My, yeah, I guess it's a good time to bring in Saturn here.
Mm.
So Saturn, which I'd love to hear you talk about because I feel like everyone has their own perspective of Saturn. It's kind of like
Mm.
really hard to pin down planet, right? Like
Mm.
it's
Mm.
he's got a lot going. But for me, with my midheaven being in Aquarius, I
Yeah.
really feel that. Like I really
Mm.
feel like I have a visionary in me and I have like a
Mm.
futurist in me and I have like a leader in me.
Wow.
And
Mm.
Saturn has been well, I just kind of had my Saturn return when it moved through Aquarius, but I that's the period of time when I like had my first spiritual awakening of many. I decided to quit my job and like go and study all these things and try to start my own business, but then that brought up all my wounds and so my journey has really
Mm.
been Saturn and Aquarius activating my Chiron where it's like go and learn all these things, be a student of life, put these things into practice, but also feel all your wounds being activated. This is the school of life. This is part of it. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay, Saturn. And Saturn's
Mm.
like, no, but you need it. And
Mm.
and then also like my wounds are sort of tied up in my father energy, right? And so that's why
Mm.
that placement is so strong for me because like my inner father is very much like a hard ass and also like doesn't believe in me. And
Oh.
so that's sort of that
Mm.
energy. But then
Mm.
at the same time, over time, like my Saturn return and now kind of working with Saturn and having kind of gone through a lot of hardship, now I see like, oh, thank you for your teaching. Like, thank you for the
Wow.
hardship. Thank you for, sh giving me the time and space to kind of grow and see all of this more clearly. And like I still struggle with Saturn being there and opposing my Chiron. And like I said, like it's in my chart. Like I'm gonna feel it for the rest of my life. But I finally feel like I can work a bit more with Saturn. And so that's the other thing with Saturn that, I hope people kind of take away from this is that he's a harsh teacher, but he really wants the best for you. And it takes
Mm,
time to experience that, to see it, to acknowledge it, to appreciate it.
mm, mm,
And I feel like I'm in that space. And obviously there's always more room to grow and improve that relationship. But that's the top part of that equation up there.
mm. Wow. I find it fascinating because your Saturn is also retrograde, but I had never saw it as the inner father. Um, in fact, I always think the chart reflects real life. I don't know what your relationship is like with your father, but I also have, like I said, a Chiron Saturn opposition, right? And for me, how that has manifested is as a savior complex. Like I always feel like I need to be the one fixing things for people. Do you
Mm.
feel that as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because my
Yeah.
my Chiron's also in Virgo at in
Yeah.
opposing my Saturn in Pisces. Yeah. So it's fascinating, but I think more than that, it's, like that inner father that you said that is very harsh. And, you know, I almost wonder if it's about like, again, coming back to that structure, right? Like wanting I don't know, like, this is how I feel as someone who grew up basically without a father figure, like wanting someone to give me structure, but not having someone to provide that kind of like discipline for me, and then needing to step up and play that role myself, but being very
Mm.
reluctant about it. And then, of course, now coming back to that ownership piece, it's like, oh, okay, like I need to, you know, be the one that lovingly holds these boundaries for me so that my inner feminine can flow and play, right? So it's like both. Like I need to be the one to do both. Actually, we all do, right? To varying degrees. Um, but it sounds as though like that's what your description sparked in me. It sounds as though that's the role that a Saturn Chiron opposition can play, in which it illuminates this for you to realize, oh, I need to be my own loving father.
Mm.
Is that what you feel is true for you as well?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of my resistance also has to do with dedication and committing
Mm,
time to the things I want
same.
to do. Like I said before, I was
Mm,
like, I'll come home
yeah.
from work or I'll finish work and
Yeah.
then be like, I'm so excited to create. And then I need to dedicate time to it. I need to like
Yeah.
commit myself to it, and that's really Saturnian. And
Mm,
and then my wound is like, I don't
mm,
wanna.
mm,
So
mm,
it's this play where like I know I need that inner father to sort of be more present, right? And more
mm,
supportive. The big thing is like support.
mm,
'Cause that's really what structure is all about, but
mm,
it's also dedication and commitment and like sticking through the hard stuff, and the wound is the hard stuff, right? It's like you meet the hard stuff and you're like, I don't want to go through the hard stuff. And then Saturn's like, I'll help you. It'll be hard, but I'll help you.
mm,
And sometimes I lean into escapism instead. I'm like, no,
mm,
I want to avoid this. And I
mm,
have this experience often where as a Virgo, I'm a double
mm,
Virgo,
mm.
and I love structure. Like I'll make a new spreadsheet. I'm not like obsessed with spreadsheets, but like I'll make a
Yeah, I get
system.
it.
I'll make a new system of sorts. I'll spend like days on it. I'm so excited about it. And then like days go by or weeks go by and I'm like, nah, let's throw that away. Or like I never want to look at it again. And so there's a
Yeah.
deep resistance to structure and commitment and dedication too. So
Mm,
that's part of the dance that I'm learning to dance, I guess.
yeah, for sure. Ah, okay. Well, I feel like that was like we are slowly kind of like coming to the end of the conversation, kind of like wrapping that up. Um, what would you say is your relationship to your creativity now?
My relationship with my creativity. That's a great question to end off. I, well, I'll say that I have spent many years dedicating myself to my creativity, and I can be very hard on
Mm,
myself, especially with all the
mm,
Virgo energy. It's like
mm,
overanalyzing and everything.
mm,
And but when I look back over the last few years, I really have dedicated myself to my creativity, and I've done the artist, like I finished the artist way this year. I've tried three
Wow.
times and I finished
Yeah.
this year. Thank you.
Amazing.
And so I think it's also like when I take that step back and look at my journey over the last few years of all the times I've tried and failed, and I put that in quotation marks because like
Hmm.
I always, learn something and come back to it. But every time I come back to it, I'm like choosing my creativity. And so these days, like my resistance is still really strong and I want to be creating more, but I still am so grateful that my creativity like is so present in my life and such a
Yeah.
deep desire that um I know that I'll keep going through seasons with it, but I feel like I have a strong relationship with it now. And
Mm.
I am excited to, spend the rest of my life exploring it even more because I know I have so much to give.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
someone once told me that I'm a sleeping giant, and I feel like I've been waking myself up
Mm.
slowly and surely. And so
Wow.
I just, yeah, I want my creativity to be something that I honor and cherish and nourish and not like resist and hide away from. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at. I want to be excited
Mm.
by my creativity, you know?
I see that so clearly, like again, because it's ruled that whole stellium, that whole like group of planets that are contributing to your creativity in the fifth house of creativity, Libra, to me it's so much about pleasure. Like the process needs to feel pleasurable to you the same way, taking a walk down your street and like seeing the sunshine and the flowers and the birds and the bees and all, like that is so pleasurable to you. Like that is what helps unlock your creativity. But like you said, because of all of those other factors in the chart, like the Chiron and the Saturn or whatever, like it feels stifling so much that genuine pleasure of beauty, like it cannot just exist as is, right? Like it feels also that always needs to be something more. But I think you also
Mhm.
kind of said like what the solution is, because like when you're too caught up in that, when you get caught up in your head and all those things, because it's still an air sign, right? Like all you need to do is give yourself grace, take a break, like take a step back, and then see the bigger picture. And then eventually that resistance will dissolve. As opposed
Mhm.
to if you're like, you can't fight Venusian power with like more force, right? Like the more you force, like the more it's just gonna be like, no. Um, so it sounds like you've really learned to work with that dance by giving yourself that grace and just flowing with it, knowing that you can't really push, but you can dance with it.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful way of working with what you've been given. So
Yeah, thank
yeah,
you.
thank
Yeah,
you, Brie.
like that's why I love conversations like this. That's why I love astrology is because it's so real. Like I'm really the living embodiment of my
Mm,
chart, and it's such a beautiful gift to have this to look at and
mm,
be like, oh, that makes sense. And oh, that's making more
mm.
and more sense as the years go
Yeah,
by. And it's
exactly.
like just having that, the thing of the pushing versus the dancing, like even just having these beautiful metaphors that arise from it is so helpful and useful and
Mm.
practical. So, yeah.
Wow. Yay. I'm glad that this was, a nourishing, illuminating conversation. I hope for anyone that's listening or watching, like, you also similarly find new ways of thinking about or relating to the creativity in your chart. How can people find you, Bree, if they want to, look at your creative work, if they want to work with you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Bree Creating,
Okay.
and which is very apropos for our conversation and my chart. And I also have a another Instagram called Nature People Magic. And
Mm.
through Nature People Magic, I have a Substack that I write long form content. And over time, naturepeoplemagic.com is going to have resources and different sorts of content to sort of inspire this integration of these three areas of life that I believe are really going to be what helps us become better humans and live a better life on this planet. Because nature, people, and magic is just, yeah, such a strong unifying force.
Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in terms of like, I am always open to collaborations and different ways of working with people. And yeah, I'm excited to just see where my creativity takes me, honestly.
Ah, I love that. See where my creativity takes me. Yep.
Yeah.
That surrender. Like, ah, thank you, Bree, and thank you everyone for being
Thank
here.
you.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank,
Gwen.
thank you. Okay. Yay.